Right after we did that last week, 2 days later, I got this. Then when I was doing the colon health this week, I got this thing from Danny Vieira, the Elijah prophecy, death begins in the colon. Every week, whatever topic I'm doing, I get an email about something regarding that topic, and I say, Lord, this is wonderful. This is a confirmation. So I wanted to read some of the things about the colon. This is facts that came from his article for this week. The medical profession claims there is no medical reason to have a bowel movement every day. That's incorrect.
Yes.
Okay? That normal bowel function is 3 to 5 bowel movements a week. That's incorrect. We should have a minimum of 2 a day. You eat twice a day, you should have 2 bowel movements. You eat 3 times a day, you should have 3 bowel movements. And we should not be eating more than 3 times a day. There's no need to eat 6 and 8 times in a day. Okay? It says over half of Americans do not have a bowel movement each day. That's a fact. Harvard reported as many as 44% of Americans strain and grunt to have a bowel movement. The FDA says that the average American male may be carrying 5 to 22 pounds of fecal matter on any given day. The third leading cause of death from cancer is colorectal cancer, which is colon cancer. The European Journal of Cancer in 2004 said the following: constipation raises your risk of colon cancer. The National Center for Health Statistics reports that Americans eat 5 to 14 grams of fiber daily, short of the 20 to 35 grams that is required and recommended. Americans consume over 500 12-ounce cans of soft drinks per year. That's not us, right? Praise the Lord, that's not us. The Royal Society of Medicine of Great Britain, comprised of 57 leading physicians, reported death begins where? In the colon. Death begins in the colon. Number 11, the highest consumption of red and processed meat significantly increases the risk of colorectal cancer. The largest study to date reported that eating as little as 3 ounces of red meat. Now, in nutrition that I took 12 years ago, they said that Americans should eat no more than this amount of meat a day. That's 3 ounces, about right here, a day. Now, don't they eat more than this a day?
Yeah.
But according to this, even if you eat that much, and most of them eat way more than this, right? Probably 10 times more, 6 times more. They probably eat this much at one serving, if not more. According to this, the largest study to date reported that eating as little as 3 ounces of red meat a day produced these results. So what they're telling you is the amount of protein, this is the maximum you should have. Even this little tiny bit amount of meat produced those results of the colon cancer. Long-term constipation is linked to anxiety, insomnia, and sexual dysfunction. In number 14, Merck Manual, which I meant to bring in, it's a big book with all kinds of medical information. Merck Manual, the standard medical text, says if you live long enough, every American will get bowel disease. Now, they wrote this back in 2005. Remember, I was telling you, they said by 2007 or 2008, every American would have some form of bowel disease. It says Americans have the highest level of digestive disorders of all the nations. So, these are the things these are facts that I wanted to share today with you. Now, we're going to be talking about transit time. Does anyone know what transit time is?
Yes.
How fast and how long it should take from when you eat breakfast today for that to be eliminated from your body. There you go. Let's go through that. Okay, where does digestion start?
The mouth.
The mouth. And it's alkaline in the mouth. Okay? And it should be 1 to 5 minutes. The next part is the stomach. It goes from the mouth down the esophagus to the stomach. What do you think the stomach is, alkaline or acidic?
Acidic.
It's acidic. It's what we have, hydrochloric acid. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to break it down. It equals 4.5 to 5 hours. And now, we want it out of the stomach by the time we eat the next meal. We don't want complete digestion to eat, otherwise we'd be waiting 24 hours. Okay, small intestines. What do you think they are? Acidic or alkaline?
Alkaline.
They're alkaline. That's right. And that's about 7.5 hours. And the large intestine, do you think that's acidic or alkaline? Acidic. It doesn't say. Okay, equals 12 hours.
It's alkaline.
This is 24 hours, approximately. So, if I were to swallow a popcorn seed today to test myself, it should be in the toilet tomorrow morning. If it doesn't come out for 3 days, you're backed up 3 days. And that's how they test a lot of people. They use a popcorn seed because that doesn't break down.
That's
Even
also
children, you know that when they're little, I've had raised children, some of them like to take those pennies and put them in their mouth and swallow them, literally. Oh yes, new parents, that's what you have to look forward to.
That's
Make
how
sure-
they also tell whether or not how long you've been dead.
Oh, wow. And did you know when John Wayne, remember the Yippee-Yi-Yay cowboy? Do you know he had all this stuff in his colon that had been sitting there for days and days? Yes, they said he died from digestive disorder. Oh, yes, yes. And we're going to be talking about that. Okay, now we're going to be going over diseases of the GI. Because today is colon health. Diseases of the GI. Okay, number one, we'll talk about, it's a very, very common disease, constipation. Here are the signs of a constipated bowel. Less than 2 bowel movements a day. Stools are small. I don't mean to be graphic, but a bowel movement should be a nice size. At least the thickness of a banana, and I'm not joking. And it should be the consistency of peanut butter. It should not be dark. You want it like squash, orangish, yellowish. If it's dark and brown and black, you have a very toxic colon. If you have to strain, if there's foul smell, if you're on that toilet for quite a while, a bowel movement should be just like this. You can feel the urgency, you go and that's it. If you have to read newspapers, magazines, I'm serious. People struggle with this all through America. If it doesn't, now this is what they say, it should float.
Yes.
It should float. If it doesn't float, or is it the opposite?
No, it's the opposite.
It's
If it floats, you
It
have
should
gas.
sink. If it's float, you have gas. That's
Yes.
right. Excuse me.
It's
It's,
fine.
and it shouldn't be dry.
Right.
It shouldn't be dry. Okay, so those are the signs of constipation. Number 2 is GERD, and I'm going to read a handout to you. This stands for gastroesophageal reflux disease. Let me read to you a handout on this. It says GERD stands for what I told you, gastroesophageal reflux disease. Gastro refers to the stomach. Esophageal refers to the esophagus, the tube that carries food from the mouth to the stomach. Reflux means to back up or flow backwards. That sphincter, the cardiac sphincter, is messed up. And so your food, when your food goes from your mouth down your esophagus to your stomach, there's a little flap that it goes through and it closes. When it's going back up, you're regurgitating. Okay. GERD is a condition in which acid, bile, and partially digested food in the stomach back up into the esophagus, and there's a burning sensation. That's why you feel the burning, because the hydrochloric acid is backing up. Partially digested food contains a strong acid. It also contains powerful enzymes that break down food. When acid and enzymes come into contact with the esophagus, they cause irritation, inflammation, pain, and other symptoms. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but the link is included in your health when I send you the lecture. Now, one of the things, does anyone know why you can have reflux disease? One of the main things that we'll be going into, these are causes of hydrochloric acid deficiency. Now, if you have too little, but if you have too much, all right, drink water. A lot of times we don't drink enough water. You drink water, it'll dilute that acid, the problem will go away. If you suffer from it backing up a lot, you've got GI problems, and we need to eliminate what we discussed yesterday. And you guys missed it, but we talked about gluten and the gluten flour, the end product. Not the gluten, what they call gluten foods, like rye and barley, stuff like that, and wheat. But we're talking about like when they make the gluten steaks and they wash the flour and get rid of the properties. That is like glue in the colon. It's an indigestible food. And I also talked about white flour. We're not supposed to eat any white flour. And whole wheat pastry flour is whole wheat flour with white flour combined. We shouldn't have anything white flour, nothing. And if you want a lighter flour, just sift your wheat flour. It'll separate it, but you'll still be getting it all because you're going to put it all in your recipe. You get that? Okay. Now, a charcoal slurry is good for GERD. If you mix a couple tablespoons of charcoal and drink it, it gets rid of it within like 2, 3, 4 minutes. It's wonderful stuff. Okay, now hydrochloric acid deficiency. A lot of times that can mimic the having too much acid. And what happens is, this is what causes it. Drinking liquid with meals, because we talked about it doesn't break down the food, and so it causes fermentation. Bad food combination, overeating, late night eating, not enough chewing, eating between meals. Did we discuss every one of those I just mentioned yesterday? Yes. And that's what medical science is saying. And that's all right here in her book, Counsels on Diet. Okay, number 3. What is this word? It's passing gas.
Yeah.
That's passing gas. Passing gas constantly is not a normal thing, but we think it is. Because what? America's the #1 leading country for digestive problems. And we learned that the Merck manual said that everyone was going to be having some kind of digestive problem. And that can lead to back pain and all types of other things. We're going to be talking about the signs and symptoms. Ulcers. Okay? You can do poultices, charcoal poultices. Mix charcoal with water, spread it, make it peanut butter consistency, spread it on a paper towel, fold the paper towel in half, and lay the wet part on the stomach. That will help with ulcers. Another thing that's good, cabbages. Cabbage, eat cabbage. And remember, we're not into juicing every day as a normal part of life, but for medicinal stuff, and you're trying to help that person in an emergency situation, cabbage juice is wonderful. And cat's claw is an excellent herb for ulcers. I learned this in Miami back in '91. I knew someone who was from El Salvador. Cat's claw. She was from El Salvador, and she told me gato de something. I forgot how you say it. And she said it's wonderful, and I heard it from other people. So cat's claw is very good for ulcers.
The real cat.
No, that's just the name of it. I think it looks like a cat's claw. Of course not. Okay, diverticulitis. Now, I may not be mentioning every GI problem because there's so many and new diseases are coming out today, but I am covering the main ones. What is diverticulitis? Diverticulitis is a condition in which diverticuli, little pouches and stuff in the colon, rupture. The rupture results in an infection in the tissues that surround the colon, and it causes a lot of problems. It says the colon is a long tube-like structure that stores and eliminates waste material